You're watching the Tesla Live with your host, Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Live number 364. Here we are. What is it? The 19th of June.
Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Wow. It is. We've made it to Juneteenth. Yes. So absolutely summer is just around the corner, just a couple days away. The start of summer. So
although Mark's summer started like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago was mine. So I'm already living the life, my friend.
Nice.
But
we have to recognize Canada's
I think everyone should extend summer a couple weeks because it's always gone before you know it. So
right. Well, for half the continent, it's so hot. Summer's definitely already here way too much.
Yes,
that's right.
We also have to recognize Canada's contributions to the holiday.
And with us, as always, have Mr. Casey Green joining us from the DC. Where are you? Where are you now? You're
on the East Coast,
Mid-Atlantic area, somewhere in there.
Yes. So last week on either the live show or one of the expresses or both, I made a comment about free supercharging and towing with my legacy vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I want to. I'm not saying that that I still need the Cybertruck or anything. I'm saying that I want to amend it a little bit, in that while towing this particular vehicle, I don't want to have to go somewhere in a hurry. Because the degradation has caught up to me. It's fine if I want to, take a leisurely trip somewhere, but making these runs to and from the storage locker to clear it out, it's unladen, no trailer, no anything. It's a 4-hour trip with one supercharge. There's the supercharging desert between here and there, so that 4-hour trip should have taken me, 8 hours for the round trip, and then it should have been 2 of them, right? Well, it took me almost 22 hours of just driving. And then you had to add almost equal amount of charging, actually more than that, of charging to it, because I had to stop at every supercharger between here and there until I got to 80 to 90%, because, again, charging desert means I can't just leave at 80 or 70 when it starts to slow down.
That's right.
And still make it there.
Now, what kind of speeds are you driving on the highway? Like
55.
Oh, okay.
Not right. 75.
I thought you were going to say 80.
No, with it empty, I can do 55 to 60, and I can do more, but not make it someplace without a tow truck. And then once it's laden, I can only do 55, because even though it does have that, like I showed you guys my graph where it has the speed bump where it switches gears, you can't overcome physics, and so you've got the drag, you've got the friction, you've got all of that. What you've also got is, I pulled out my Tesla Spy, and even though it does go front wheel drive again, once I hit those higher speeds, any little bunny hill will kick in the rear motor, and so it's like, well, might as well just do it all in the rear motor anyway.
Yeah. Also joining us today, Mr. Patrick Connor from the West Coast.
Hello, Tesla Nation. I'm happy to be here. I had some errands I had to run, and I was almost late for the show, but I made it. So good times.
Absolutely. Made it just on time. Perfect.
Yeah, well, I can drive 55.
Yeah, exactly. Sammy Hagar. Exactly.
Yeah. The worst part of that story, Casey, is that you have to charge above the 80%, because suffering through when it slows down. So they need just a couple more superchargers in there for you.
Right. Or a slightly bigger battery or better degradation, and any number of combo of what's available would do the trick.
Right. I'm sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Let's hit our first story, which of course is the big one this week, which is some highlights as to what happened late last week, with the Tesla shareholder meeting, which was held, of course, at Giga Texas. And of course, I would say the biggest news, especially based on how Elon danced on stage, was probably the vote that went in his favor. Second time the vote was performed. for the pay package, and he certainly achieved it. I believe it was about 73% when it comes right down to it overall. He actually even they released the votes over a period of time, and you could see that the yes was always ahead all the way through. There was at one point where it got a little close, but it always remained ahead. And eventually, as it rolled into the last few weeks of voting, it really spread the gap. More and more people were voting, far more were voting for yes than no. So
absolutely.
With that,
put their vote in at the very last minute. So Elon was kind of sweating bullets there to see what the institutionals would do.
Yeah, and it went his way. And now there's some stability. There's obviously a clear direction. The other thing that was voted upon and approved was the move from Delaware to Texas.
Can we go back to the pay package for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Take them one at a time. Just because, like you said, I think that you mentioned that gives stability, and I think that's the key point. If the institutional investors, or if the vote had not gone toward paying Elon what he was due for the work he did, then there's going to have to be some pay package after that. So things would be in limbo, and that would hurt the stock performance. And so institutional investors, it was in their own best interest to vote in favor of this. And then the other thing that would have happened is the pay package was from 2018, I think. So all of the options that he was entitled to were already amortized, or so that was already all accounted for. With the price at 2018 versus now is radically different. So if that would have then been dissolved, and then they had to do some new replacement pay package, even if it was a smaller number of shares, it would have probably ended up costing more as far as how those are accounted for with the accounting side of the house. So I'm just glad that it went through, and I'm glad it's done. Now, that doesn't mean that some shareholder won't sue again, but the justification that the judge used to disengorge it was that the shareholders were not informed. There is no way you could make that argument now. How much ink was spilled over this whole thing? There was so much discussion, so much, so anyway.
I would have to say, Patrick, even though they're saying that the shareholders were not informed back in 2018, I would say that they were definitely informed.
I totally agree.
It is something that it seems to be a farce to me. And yes, there was some no votes, and I understand that Elon has made some enemies over time. But the other thing you have to look at is this was back in 2018. This vote was for a certain package based on the goals that were set out in front. And if he was to achieve all the goals, he could get that package. And he went through every single one of them and obtained those goals when many thought it was not a chance in being possible.
Yeah, I was skeptical. I mean, it was in some part of it, you had to 10x the market cap. And I mean, like, I'll be happy if that happens. I am a shareholder. I am going to hold it. But do I really think he can 10x over this time? I was very skeptical. So after the fact, to take the money away, that just if you bought it in 2018 and held it until now, you're very happy with that result. Yes, there were some higher in the middle than what it is today, but from then to now, it's still awesome.
Yeah. Do hope that he noticed the quantity of the no votes and didn't take them as an attack or any of the other stuff with the Delaware situation, but more of an input that they are not happy with some of the stuff he's been doing lately. Because there were a lot of people who spilled some ink on it rather than people just saying, a contract's a contract, do what you promised. He has not been doing everything in Tesla's best interest ever since the Twitter situation. So, and then when he came back, the first thing he did was scare the shit out of people. So hopefully he takes that as constructive criticism and not that these people are his enemies or whatever.
Yeah, and that's that time will tell. We'll see if Elon stays the same. We'll see if there's any changes in his position as he moves along. But again, I think stability is the best policy here. We needed stability, And I think that we got it. So I think that will be good for the investors and the stock as a whole. And if Tesla can continue to act upon their goals and achieve those goals in a regular time period, I think it'll be good all the way around. But certainly we're here for the ride, and we will certainly report on what we see as time goes along.
Absolutely.
How long have I been voting against Murdoch? 10 years now?
Yeah.
Every time his name comes up on the list,
You need to buy more shares if you want to get rid of Murdoch.
Right.
And with one of the initiatives, now you'll get a chance to do every year instead of every 3 years.
That's true, yes. Did it go through? I didn't see the results for any of the other initiatives.
Yeah, that one did go through. That was one of the, so the term limit for board members was reduced from 3 years to 1 year. So you'll vote on them every year, which is every other year seems better to me than every year. I mean, they only, even if they're an active board, they're meeting 4 or 5 times a year, not a whole lot. So I mean, they are not officers of the company; they're board members. So it seems silly to do it every year.
Yeah, bit overkill.
Yeah.
And then there was the move.
Yep. So the Delaware has been moved out in favor of Texas, and it will be official that that Tesla will be incorporated in Texas going forward, and that they will abide by Texas laws compared to Delaware. And of course, with what had happened with that Delaware judge, I'm not surprised that was launched immediately, and that was a priority because Elon and others had looked at that as a specific attack on Tesla and Elon, and they had decided that we've got to again be more stable than that. We can't have things being backtracked after 5 years. We can't have this happen again, and therefore they're not going to let it happen again in Delaware. They've left.
Mm-hmm.
But that brings us more uncertainty because Texas isn't as proven as Delaware. That was the whole reason everybody keeps picking them. But there's the other problem is that this doesn't actually free them from that judge. They still have to make the final ruling. And yes, they could say, hey, look, they voted again. They know. You can't say they didn't know. But now they could, hopefully a judge wouldn't be a spiteful person with their rulings, but they could still come back and say, yeah, forget what you just did.
Oh, judges are absolutely people too. They can be spiteful. They can, they can have grudges. And this judge had dealt with Musk in the past with the Twitter issues, and so she obviously did not like the man and used any excuse, whether it was if you were just going by the law books. That's not the only thing that she was weighing as part of this. So Delaware is not the tried and true place that it used to be. There are now different judges in place. The fact that this happened at all in some place where Delaware was supposed to be, the reason that a lot of businesses incorporated there was because it was business friendly. Well, this ruling shows that was not the case. So the whole idea that let's put incorporating Delaware because it's stable has been overturned. And has been shown not to be true, and it makes sense that their headquarters is in Texas. That's where they should incorporate.
Right, and that's
and certainly the ruling did throw a lot of cold water on Delaware as being this tried and true state when it came to rules and regulations of incorporated companies. And it ultimately may hurt Delaware somewhat now that's been thrown into some sort of question. If they were to come back, the same judge, with a different ruling or with a push through that the second vote didn't matter, I think they would really be throwing caution to the wind in Delaware, and they would be getting the status that they're just unpredictable. Who knows what can happen there? It's the Wild West in Delaware.
That'll be good for their state to pull that. Doesn't mean they won't, but it would not be good for them to do that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Since the vote passed, both of these votes passed at the same time, which means that means that this current pay package that just got approved by shareholders last Thursday was actually technically done while the company was still incorporated in Delaware. So, yeah, right. I mean, doesn't that make sense? They hadn't, since both votes were approved at the same time, they were still incorporated in Delaware, which means if there is a lawsuit about the second pay package, it would still go to Delaware. I mean, I'm not a legal scholar. I don't practice law, but that seems to make sense to me.
But there's also two things about that, though. The pay package required 50% of voting shares, right? And the incorporation required 50% of outstanding shares.
Yes. So I did not expect it to pass because of that reason. So the rules were different. So to move where they're incorporated.
And Musk couldn't vote on the pay package.
Right. Yeah. He had abstained from that. So you can either have a majority of the votes or you can have a majority of the outstanding shares. And there's some people that can't even vote their shares. So to get 50% of the 50% plus one vote of the outstanding shares to vote in favor of moving, I thought was not going to happen, just because even if like 80% of the people who voted in favor of it, they wouldn't get past the quorum number. But they did. And I think part of it was because of the pay package brought out a whole lot of people. Like everybody thought they had to vote this time, pretty much, where there's a lot of votes where you're like, I don't care who's on the board. And there's some esoteric rule about what happens in the bylaws. I got other stuff to do. Shredder, done.
I do like that Elon said maybe these things should have a limit to their either their spoken length or their paragraph length, because this year they got out of hand with the
people were submitting books or chapters of books.
Plain language.
You guys know I've been complaining forever about how Tesla isn't do business as a car company in several places, including where I'm sitting right now and their new headquarters. So Governor Abbott was doing what he always does and grabbing on to anything good that happens, try to put his name out there. And my response was, all right, prove it, jerk.
Exactly. Because he hasn't put his money where his mouth is, has he? Like he's more than happy to say, "Look at this employment I brought, and look at how great I am." But really, he's not fully part of this plan at all. He's sitting back in the weeds or sitting on the fence, just waiting.
Can't sit on fences.
And like with the Texas, what is it? The legislature only gets together once every 2 years to discuss items.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay. You know, they let you walk away with the no sale thing for the first 2 years. Second 2 years, I think, is coming up this year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, they've been voting on this since 2012, right? Or having the opportunity and then not doing it.
Right. But now the plant is built and now the plant is ramping up.
Plant got here. Yeah. They have no excuse at this point, especially since, Abbott's been there at every single event.
Yeah.
Right. Now there's a lot more people whose livelihood depends on Tesla and the surrounding suppliers, and that might change the political will in that region.
Right. I mean, they're the largest employer in the region, and to have to do these shenanery about having to ship the vehicles out and bring them back and all this crap, that's ridiculous. And then the fact that they can't even repair the cars that they built right there with their own hands at their own factory in their own state. Well, they can, but it has to be another company that does it, and you have to call headquarters, and that was in California, now it's in Texas, but it's not the same company. It's
You've got to call clear to the other side of the Gigafactory and it's a different extension. And of course, all sorts of updates came from Elon as they talked a little bit about this new book that Tesla is opening up. It's not a chapter even.
Yes, I like that.
This is such a momentous occasion that things are going to change, that we are heading to such new heights that it's no longer a new chapter. This is a new book, and it's going to be a good book, is what he had said on stage.
It gave me warm fuzzies.
Yeah. So what do you think he's referring to? I assumed he was talking about Optimus.
2 robots per person at a minimum. Robotaxis.
Yes.
Hopefully the Tesla HVAC finally comes around, the heat pump network.
Yep. AI.
Right. AI, I think, is the main focus with the bot and the robotaxis. It's about AI actually doing useful work that helps humanity and removes labors. So that's where I think that the main focus is going to be there in the new book.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and Cybertruck is going to be a reasonable price at some point.
Yes. So that was one of the announcements that made my list as well, is that they are ending Foundation Series production. Did he say when exactly?
By next
Soon.
quarter.
The word was soon.
Right.
Ending.
Yeah.
I
So
thought he mentioned the quarter. Somebody mentioned the quarter. Yeah.
He mentioned the quarter when the cheaper Cybertruck will be made available, which is next quarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So sometime in
he
Q3.
said Foundation ending soon.
Ah.
Yeah, and that makes sense. They're only going to if you've ordered a Foundation Series, they're going to make all of those orders they have, and then one day they're going to say, "Okay, we filled them all," and that's it. If you haven't ordered it, if you want a Foundation Series, order it now, because the window's going to close soon and they will be gone forever.
I want one, but can I make that happen and still eat?
You've got a trailer to tow, so you might think about it.
I can also do that with the $80,000 one instead of the $100,000 one. Because then I can also get my $7,500 tax credit.
Oh, that's true. Yes,
That's
so
true.
the new one will be below the 80K, and so you'll be able to get that discount, right? And that's all it takes.
All it takes is a penny.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so there was lots of discussion. Elon was certainly in a jovial mood as it went through, and they talked a little about Cybertruck hitting a new milestone of 1,300 units in a week.
Mm-hmm.
They say they're on their way to 2,500 per week by the end of the year. That's where they want to be, and I think that again, this talk about a new book, not a chapter. There's lots of things going on, but as Patrick mentioned, they do all kind of circle around AI. They do all circle around automation. They circle around the ability for cars to be autonomous. It's certainly where it's going.
He cleared up that how he envisions the personally owned vehicles participating in this, and it was kind of like he led us on to believe, like it was like he called it like Airbnb versus Uber, but it's exactly like Uber versus Airbnb. You just enroll it and disenroll it whenever you're ready, and I like that. Assuming that they can get it approved, and that was cool.
Yeah, I didn't understand the difference, the distinction he was trying to make there, because if you're an Uber driver, I mean, okay, I guess Airbnb, you're not at your house necessarily, whereas with Uber, you're driving your own car. So maybe that's the point he was trying to make. Which, if you want to stick with the car analogy, then you could say Toro, right? Because you're not in the car when. But whatever. Yeah, which is funny because he always says, "Don't reason by analogy," and yet here he is making analogies. And
right.
It is a quick way to convey an idea. That doesn't mean it should be how you do your reasoning.
Yeah, so it was an interesting discussion. It was pretty well on point. It wasn't really extremely long. It was just a normal time.
Proposals, and they were drowning out. I fell asleep during a couple of proposals.
Well, and again, that's what we mentioned already, that the proposal length was getting ridiculous in a couple of the cases. These were chapters of books that you had to read through, and they're looking to correct that after this was breached in this particular meeting. But it's another mention was that Kimball Musk got reelected for a term. So
yes, he did.
I like him. He's like a moderating factor to Elon's move.
Hopefully.
Well, in the past he has been,
and continue to be. That would be nice.
Oh, if Musk has gone this far off the rails with his brothers containing him, I would hate to see him without.
Right. I also was very impressed with the seeing 3 vehicles under sheets on the
That's right.
Oh yeah. Okay. So what do you think they are? We know that they have the Roadster they haven't put out yet. So that could be one.
One of the 3 though, because none of them looked that shape.
Well, yeah, and I don't think the shapes really mean anything, because one of them looked like a van, but
I think that shape matters. I think they purposely made a shape that looks like a van.
Yeah, because the other 2 looked identical, but that one looked different.
Yeah, but they had that one from Battery Day, I think, when they were talking about having a high-capacity vehicle going into the boring tunnels.
Right.
And
The fact that it
so,
remained is important because, as much as Elon likes to just throw stuff to the wind.
right.
I really think that the van is part of it. I think
Okay.
I think it has been for a long time. It's just sat as an ugly
No
duckling.
priority.
It just was not something that they were pushing because they had way too many other irons in the fire.
I'm hoping it's also because it was based on Cybertruck, and that one was already slowing down. I'd much rather it be something like the F-150 and the Excursion, or the Silverado and the Suburban, than just a whole nother ground-up car, because that would be awesome that you could still use it as a work van and tow with it and all that other stuff if they went that route. Plus, you get all the advancements that we saw in Cybertruck, like the 48-volt architecture, the steer-by-wire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once you go to steer-by-wire, I think that really allows you to use it more like a platform where it's easier to do different things on top without completely redesigning it. I mean, we've got the S to the X and the 3 to the Y, and those, as much as even though they were started similarly, they have to branch a lot. But once you have things like the 48-volt, the ether loop, and steer-by-wire, so much is easier to redesign. So I could definitely see, and we know they're going to be taking a lot of the learnings from the Cybertruck, and that's going to be the foundation for the next series. And foundation, maybe that's why they called it that. So I think we'll learn a lot more on August 8th about what was under those sheets.
Absolutely. Anything else you guys wanted to touch upon?
Yes, I've got one. The one that I perked my interest, and purely for selfish reasons, is they said they're going to uncork hardware 4. Yeah. So I talked about it on the show last year when I was in the market for a Model Y, that I was not going to buy one until hardware 4 was available, because in my opinion, hardware 4 was going to be required to get to FSD. Now, Tesla has not said that. That's just where I think it's going. Although they've already started hinting at it in ways that make me think I might eventually be proven right, in that they've said hardware 4, we expect to have more nines of reliability than hardware 3. Okay, well, do you want to ride in something that crashes every 1,000 miles or every 10,000 miles? Whatever the numbers happen to be.
Stopping it from working in the existing cars, except that the shape doesn't work and the voltage is wrong. But when you've got, 1.5 million cars already that can take the new chip, you could get them to make the right size board and voltage.
Exactly. So they're going to fork FSD, and they're going to have a hardware 3 version and a hardware 4 version. And I'm not sure when exactly.
Very soon.
Yes. So once that fork happens, it's a lot of work to keep 2 code branches going and training them both. And they're not hardware training constrained, so maybe that's not going to be an issue. But right now, hardware 4 operates in reduced mode in hardware 3 emulation mode. So the full capacity of the cameras, I think the cameras are 5 megapixels, where hardware 3 was 1.2 megapixels. So they will be unnerfed. And then I think hardware 4, you'll start seeing advancing faster than hardware 3. And at some point, they're going to say hardware 3 doesn't cut it. And it'll be a legacy. And there'll be some upgrade path, whether it's, I don't know if they'll literally upgrade you or give you some discount if you buy a hardware 4 computer or a car or whatever. We'll see how that plays out.
They're going to have to play it out, though, because that was what was implied and told to us at the time when it was only going up before it went on discount for at least 3 months. Was that they'll take care of you. And they did get us the hardware 2.0 computer to the hardware 3 computer, but they're going to have to continue if that's what it takes. I mean, there's some people in Europe who have never been able to experience what they've purchased, and then now it's time for a new car.
Right. And they also announced, since we're talking about these, hardware 5 in about 18 months. So what's that? That's the start of 2026.
But middle of 2026. Because I'm assuming he meant 18 months from when he said it.
Right, which would be the start of 2026. But
that's right.
if you want to put Elon time on it, then you could say 2027 or 8 if you want.
And that is supposed to be 10 times faster than hardware 4.
Right.
Yes. And he said that one was purely for more 9s. But again, just like Patrick said, he's just trying not to Osborne himself.
Right. Yeah. And even if it's just lower power.
Yeah, if they could get country mode to work without like eating a kilowatt hour per hour, that would be nice.
Yes. So yeah, that was my big takeaway there, Mark.
Casey, anything that you wanted to add from that meeting?
Those are the big ones. I mean, it was a nice event.
Yeah, and I certainly, if you have the time, certainly line up the YouTube or Twitter feed and watch it yourself, because I would say that listening to Elon go through it, it was somewhat inspiring. The way that he was speaking about it and laying it out, it was optimism for hope all through it. So I certainly ask anyone that has interest, listen to it, see what you think about it specifically.
As a time savings, read the ballots of what these people are talking about, and then skip that whole section.
Next, going to talk a little bit about the thing I was at just last week, which was the summer meetup in Muskegon, Michigan,
or as it was called that day,
Muskegon. Exactly, the one-day name change, and it was a fun time. Lots of stuff to see, lots of people to meet, and old friends to see, and it was a great time. And just out on the outset, they will be doing it again next year. It'll be a week later, but it's going to happen again. And I have to say that the venue that they used this year was spectacular, right on the shore of the harbor, and beautiful setting. And we've got a few photos that I will share right now to let people see what we were talking about.
Were you hanging out with Brian?
I was hanging out with Brian. Mr. White was there. He was the MC. And actually, Brian and I did a panel together with Rebellion Air, with Bradford Ferguson and Matt Smith were on site, and we did an interview with them and walked through some investing advice, or at least some basics about investing and how Rebellion Air does it.
Cool.
I like this wrap.
Yeah, me too.
And this, of course, is Tesla-Tino's vehicle that came in from Florida. There were 13 Cybertrucks that showed up for the event. So they were representative with wraps, as this one has, and of course others that were just the plain stainless steel, custom rims and tires, and looks certainly to some of them, which was fantastic to see.
If he was from Oregon, I would think those were the Sisters Mountains, but I don't think he is. So I'm assuming that. Do you know which mountains they are?
He is from Florida, and I believe that these mountains are Rockies.
Yeah, they're not from Florida mountains.
Yeah, okay. Florida mountains, they're just little humps. So that's definitely not a Florida mountain, because they don't exist in Florida. But another thing of interest was that he has mounted a Starlink to the back of his bed. Yeah. And if he wants to use it when he's on the road, he just opens the tonneau cover to the edge of the Starlink, and it can connect. If the tonneau's closed, of course, he gets zero reception. So he needs it to be facing the sky, and if he just rolls the tonneau up with his control on the inside of the truck, he can get mobile Wi-Fi at any time he wants.
That's slick.
Yep. So that was pretty cool. This was another vehicle, a custom Model 3 that showed up. Man, you can't miss the color. It was greener than green. And you can see that the front fascia has been changed for a new look. But this is also one of the originals, because it's got silver trim. So this this vehicle is one of the originals.
What'd you say about the nose, Casey?
Looks very Lotus-like.
Yes. Yes. Also on site was Tesla, and they brought themselves 2 red performance Model 3s, which of course is brand new to the US and Canada. and it's got that interesting starscape picture for Ludicrous in the corner, and of course these unique rims, which are new as well. And the two reds that they brought were white interiors, and they were offering people the ability to take it out for a spin.
Oh,
And
that'd be fun.
that was fun. Let me tell you, there was a huge lineup, people wanting to take out the 3 Ludicrous for a spin, and I don't blame them at all. It was fun.
So what do you think of that color in person? It looks really nice in the picture.
That color is incredible in person. It looks far better than the picture. Like,
oh, wow.
I really like it. It's almost a candy apple-y type. You've got gold flecks in it that you really can't see in the photo. It looks more flat in the photo, but up close, it's got some depth to it, and very nice.
Cool.
And some other shots. So we got that green vehicle again. Oh, that's the same. I went back. Let me go. Oh, yes.
Wow. Do you know how many cars are in the slideshow?
100.
How many?
100.
Okay, cool.
Right. And we got a better one. This is from the crowd's viewpoint. They had the vehicles surrounding the band shell and pointing at the crowd, which was kind of a cool setup.
Yeah. Did they have any legacies in there doing the old Christmas dance?
Let me. Oh, I stopped the sharing by mistake. I'm trying to stop the video. Nothing like doing this on the fly.
I still think they should have at least let the original Model X there have some of the new functionality there, because without X you wouldn't have.
Here we are earlier in the day as they were starting to bring participants in and line them up. Who brings a dirty car to a car show?
Dirty Tesla was there, obviously.
He was there, and but that was not his.
Oh, wow. That was my first guess.
And you can see the band shell as they were setting up. And they had a few Cybertrucks up front. They had original Roadster on stage, a couple of them.
Cool. That's what got me hooked into Tesla, was the original Roadster. I took one for a drive when they came through town, and I was just like, oh, they get it.
Here's some modifications that were spotted. Interiors, exteriors.
Looked like that Model Y. Just dirt all down the side because it drove all the way from California to Michigan for the International Auto Show.
So this was obviously still early in the day as setup was happening. The basically the gates, people started to show up about the public started to show up about 10 a.m. And of course it lasted until nightfall, which we will see here in a moment. And
I like the orange, yeah.
And then of course keynote speaker arrived. There's Mr. Sandy Monroe in the background.
Cool.
And he had some custom wheels on his Cybertruck.
I like those. They look like the Tesla logo.
Yeah.
How has Tesla not made those?
That's true. That's true. The T is really prevalent in that.
Or you could say that it was just a slice of an electric motor, because that's where the T comes from.
Another thing of interest was that the show knew, of course, many people were coming from out of town to attend. Mm-hmm. And what they did is they set up a charity car wash. So they had it powered, of course, by electricity, and they had a mobile car washing group from the volunteers that were there from the Michigan Tesla's Owners Club. And they set up a line, and Sandy Monroe and his wife were in line to get that car wash in this particular photo.
So that guy imitating Chris had no excuse then in the Model Y.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
That's really smart to do a charity car wash. That's pretty. Yeah. When you know you're going to have a bunch of cars on display, people want them clean.
And there is a shot from the stage when Sandy's keynote was going on. There's our friend Brian up on stage as well. Tesla owners of Silicon Valley represented as well. And there was a ton of people that were at this. You could recognize a bunch of them. Some of them you didn't know. They had some guests in from Germany, some Tesla people from Germany. They had all corners of the U.S. and a number of provinces from Canada. So it was an excellent time where you got to actually speak to the presenters. They had a tent off to the side where when those speakers weren't on stage, they'd be more than happy to talk to anyone in the crowd that had questions or wanted to meet and get a photo and say hello.
Very cool.
So that was pretty cool. And here's another.
Did anybody recognize you from the Tesla life? Say hey.
I had one person recognize me. Yes.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
And it wasn't Brian.
And it wasn't Brian. That's right. That's right. Brian recognized
small
me.
but loyal, lovable. We're specialty. Yeah. We're not some big channel.
They just drove off like a Civic.
Yeah, the Civic got onto the lawn and then they shoot him away.
Okay.
When they found out, oh, that's a Civic. Sorry, you cannot park here. Move along. But there was a couple of Model Ys that were set up with the solar setup. This one just had 2 panels, but there was another one that had 24 panels.
Oh, was that the guy who did the cross country?
That's right. Same guy.
Okay.
Same guy. Did a cross-country run with 24 solar panels. He would charge during the day, and then in the evening, he would drive.
Mark Watney style.
Exactly. Exactly. So that was great. And of course, this photo was kind of cool.
Who's that crazy guy?
Someone made up these little headshots of Brian and put them on a stick. And this, of course, is not Brian. This is one of those sticks. But when he was on stage, they were waving at him, and it was hilarious to watch from stage. It was a great time. It was a great time to see. And then the other thing I wanted to show you with a quick walkthrough, which of course was the drone shot of the light show.
That's a good angle.
Exactly. So you've got at this shot about 100 cars in it, and you can see the Cybertrucks are lined up at the front of the stage, and they even had the vehicles on stage. There's another 4 Cybertrucks on stage that were part of the light show as well. So, and then all of the participants in the middle getting light beamed from all different angles.
Yeah.
So what a fantastic venue, as mentioned. The band shell right on the water, a nice park area. You could walk around to everything. They had food trucks on the grounds. They had the mobile wash, as we've already talked about, and there were a number of trails that were shaded, and people could walk to the different areas that were happening, as well as, of course, there were a number of vendors set up selling their wares too. So fantastic day. I certainly would recommend anyone that has interest to check it out possibly next year, because it was fun. I don't know if you've ever been to that type of a Tesla get together, but certainly you're surrounded by like-minded people, and everyone was having a great time. So hats off to the Michigan Owners Club. They did a great job in putting it together and making it happen. And of course, the next day they called it Plaid Day. And what they did is they brought a number of plaids out, and they had a road that was closed to the public by the police, and they were able to do drag race runs comparing vehicles to vehicles. They had Cybertrucks racing plaids, X's and S's, and it was interesting to see all those vehicles, see how they can compare against each other in flat out races. So once again, thanks very much for the invite to the Michigan group, and look forward to seeing it again next year. Let's move on to our next story. Just want to talk a little bit about Patrick, the master plan 4 Elon is working on. And Casey and I were talking before the show. We got no idea what the master plan 4 could be after hearing 1, 2, and now 3. Do you have any insight?
Yeah. So 1 was about getting to high volume vehicles and solar, and then 2 with their next gen of vehicles, and so 3 was about moving the Earth to sustainable energy. They said it in a lot more words though. So 4, I think we've already touched on what 4 is going to be, and it's going to be AI focused. That's what Musk is thinking about right now, about how to get to that next stage. I think we're going to see stuff about Optimus in there, about what it can do for humanity, about how we can. In 3, they talked about a world of abundance, abundant energy, and
He actually used the word UBI there, didn't he?
UBI. I would not be surprised if that was part of it, because once you have a autonomous robotic labor force, there's going to be fewer jobs of the type that employ a lot of people today.
Yeah.
If you just look at the number of people that drive in general for work, whether they're delivery or hauling or freight or whatever, it's one of the largest jobs percentage-wise of people is driving in one form or another.
Yeah.
So that we're going to have to move to something but I don't. So there's so many people take the what is it? The Luddite view of if my job's going to be replaced, that's horrible. It does not have to be that way. If you go to this era of abundance, you can instead move to something that is a better use of your time, and it's something that is more rewarding and more fulfilling.
You still have jobs if you want, but you don't have to either.
Yeah, and if we do move to UBI, where you have an income that is because of all the stuff that's being generated, and that is to the point where there's money flowing that can be distributed to people that aren't even working. You'd be born into retirement effectively. Yeah, so that's where I think Master Plan 4 is going to point to in that direction.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense to be pointing towards that AI / automation / autonomy. Makes a lot of sense. It's because that's where Elon's head has been for the past number of months, and we've been commenting on that in many shows. That seems to be what he's laser focused on.
And they didn't really cover much of that in Master Plan 3.
No.
Yeah. Very good. Get this. The province of British Columbia changed their rules about their tax credit that they offer for provincial residences. I believe it was Monday. And the new rules came out that the price of a car had to be a little bit lower in order to qualify for the provincial rebate. And Tesla was outside of that range. So therefore, the Model 3s no longer got the rebate.
I don't think that was a coincidence.
20 years later, Tesla dropped their price by $1,000, and guess what? It qualified for the rebate again. But to Tesla's credit, not only did they drop the price in just the province, they dropped it for the country. So all Canadians can now enjoy an extra $1,000 off a Model 3. And for the first time ever in Canada, in Canadian dollars, the Model 3 is under $50,000 Canadian. So that's a first ever. So prices continue to come down on these vehicles.
What trim level is that? Do you know? Is it the long range or is it the performance or?
It is the basic. We used to be called the standard range. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Rear wheel drive. So yes, and we've said this before. Tesla has always looked at what the climate is in the markets that it's selling, and they have no problem adjusting to make it a better value and continue the sales of their cars without interruption. In some cases, Tesla has even provided the rebate themselves to the customer directly because it couldn't be switched fast enough. But in this case, it was switched, and bingo, we're back on with the same rebate.
I wonder if the people in that province that set the new number were when Tesla made this change? Were they like saying, yes, we got a cheaper vehicle for everybody, or were they like, damn, Tesla still got under this number?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I would like to.
The last one.
Yeah, I want to know as a fly on the wall which one.
Because a related story is that, and this of course is for the ZEV credit in Canada, which is a federally given credit. So we were talking about provincial credit just a moment ago, but Canada also has a federal credit that can be combined with provincial credit if you have a provincial credit. But everybody in Canada gets this $5,000. It was published that Tesla has received over 25% of all ZEV credits in the country. So that's a substantial amount of Tesla vehicles that are being sold compared to others that make up the rest. So all the other brands are nowhere near 25% as Tesla is on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So, Patrick, you're absolutely correct. They could have been going for a couple of things, and we really don't know. But it's also good for governments to start looking at what vehicles are selling for, because you don't want to waste taxpayers' money. You want to make sure that you're not offering tax credits to people that are buying a $150,000 vehicle. There are things that should be examined and should change as the electric vehicle market matures.
Yes.
But then you've got all these people with this mindset that base Model 3 standard range with the Canada Special, that you can't upgrade your range. Do they still make that one? Anyway, they've got the idea that that's a luxury car.
Yeah.
No, that vehicle is no longer valid. Is not even out there, and in fact, it disappeared a number of years ago with the Ontario credit disappearing. So that's when it was in play. Back in 2018, when I got my vehicle, it was in play, but it's no longer in play.
Right. Even then, it was off menu.
That mindset.
That's right.
Yeah.
But a 100-mile Model 3 with no options is a luxury car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we stopped subsidizing fossil fuels, then I think that we wouldn't have to subsidize EVs. And, so hey, you can drop both of them. That seems fair. Let's just drop both.
Yeah, very fair.
Exactly. Exactly. Last story we're going to touch upon this evening is this new Tesla stock incentive for Tesla employees that Elon has announced. The details are short, but this is obviously designed to get employees to think out of the box and to propel Tesla to new heights with new ideas and new efficiencies. That Elon wants everyone to participate and help push Tesla forward so that we can get to a more obtainable vehicle for more people. And of course, to spur on innovation from multiple people, not just at the top, but from any part of the company where people can see things that can make things better for the company and the customers that buy them. Now, Casey, you had mentioned about how details were light on this, and who knows what the rewards will be and when they will be. I'm sure that over time this will start to come out, but I would say that even without knowing that, I would say that this is probably a good move to offer these stock rewards for people to achieve beyond what they would do in a normal 9 to 5 or 40 or 44-hour work week. This is something that Elon wants to push forward. But then again, it can go too far. Remember, Elon's sleeping on the floor of the factory. Right. And of course, he's sleeping on the floor of the factory is a lot different than a normal salaried employee sleeping on the floor of the factory. There has to be limits on this. We don't know what they are, but I would say that at least on the outset right now, this looks like a good idea to me.
Yeah, and those are the concerns I expressed. I said, it's concerning enough when a normal company does it, but when one headed by Mr. Musk, what does he consider to be exceptional? But beyond that concern, the idea of having extra incentive is nice.
Yeah, it's common for tech companies in general to offer stock options to all employees, and there's different OSUs, RSUs. There's a whole lot of different types, and so it'll be interesting to see what this plan is. When I think they already have a employee stock participation where you can put a portion of your salary towards buying stock at some discount price, and then I think they also offer some level of RSUs, stock options to people. So yeah, I want to know what this new deal is going to be.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of this will be leaked out over time as employees start to receive the details. As Tesla wants to highlight some people that have participated and succeeded in this. I'm sure that this type of, Tesla may not be broadcasting it to the news media, but I'm certainly they're going to be letting their employees know how to achieve some of these goals.
Yeah, it's interesting because you want to use them to retain good talent, but then after they vest and mature, you could have them phoning in rich and not coming in and quitting. So it's a tricky balance to get it just right.
We also might not see it leak. They've learned how to watermark and individualize their notices, so that way they can pinpoint who the leakers are. So,
so run it through Grok and have it summarize it, and then release the summary.
Yeah.
Wait, maybe Grok's not the right one to use for that.
No, that's the wrong one. Yeah.
Summarize and reword this for me.
Excellent point, Patrick. Yep.
Elon, I found the leaker.
I want to thank everyone for joining us this week. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up on the video. That would be appreciated. Press that subscribe if you haven't done that already. And of course, if you want to follow the news through the week, you can follow us on our X account, The Tesla Life, or on our Facebook account, The Tesla Life #1. And we certainly look forward to connecting with you there as well. With that said, any shout outs for the week, Mr. Casey Green?
Yeah, so you can catch us on Friday at the Tesla Life Express, and then catch me on Sunday at the Let's Chat with Casey and Friends on youtube.com/Casey Green. And then again on Monday, you can catch us again on the Tesla Life Express, followed up by Wednesday for our next live show. We'll catch you there.
Very good. Very good. Patrick, to you.
Yes, as always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I blog at carswithcords.net. We are just 2 days away from the solstice, and so I always post what is my solar production on that day, the longest day of the year. Seems like the appropriate day to write a little bit about solar, because I'm trying to move towards a future free from fossil fuels.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We look forward to see how that number compares to a couple years ago, and see if you're increasing, or I guess it really depends on maybe cloud cover, how the day is that particular day. You can certainly typically get a wonderful day, but there may be rain or cloud cover at any one of those days along the way too.
Yeah, and last year I had the panels off because we were getting a new roof, so it can't compare to last year. Well,
the bar is low. The bar is low.
But there's also the matter that the panels are aging. They don't degrade as fast as batteries do, but they do degrade.
They do. Yeah. In fact, we got our first system in 2007, and the degradation is very small. If you had batteries that were this old, there would be noticeable, 20%. So actually, why don't I include that in my blog post? I'll write it this weekend, and it'll probably be up by Sunday. So.
Yeah, I think the effects of dirt on my panels are more noticeable than the effects of the degradation.
Oh, yes. It's funny because you'll see if you're watching my daily production, especially in the spring, sometimes there's a lot of pollen. And then there'll be a day where it's cloudy and production drops. But then the day after that, it spikes way high. Why? Because it rained on that one day and it washed all the pollen off, and now things are back. So it's kind of cool that it's fun to watch.
Exactly. Once again, want to thank the Michigan Owners Club for putting on their summer meetup. I want to thank Brian White from Futuraza. If you haven't subscribed to him, please do as well. And we'll get together next time and talk at the Tesla Life.
Yeah, and then in chat today we had Tesla Fred 0101, we had me, we had JT24, we had Brian, we had different Brian, not Brian White. Yeah, those are the ones I caught. Did I miss any?
And thanks Lee Moon for using the music every week.
Absolutely.
Stay positive, test negative.